off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Hello, fellow Saltneck residents and those who love them. We are back again for another recap of Severance, episode 8 of season 2, entitled, what is the title? Some kind of vitriol.
Sweet vitriol.
Sweet. Vitriol's usually not sweet, but this one is. I have ideas of the title and where we got it from, but we'll start with my good old co-host today. Somebody's missing. He had better things to do. But we are here, and we have Joe. Like we always do, Joe, what are your general impressions of the episode?
You know, it's funny, when I was watching that, I wasn't expecting it to be a Cobel episode. But a lot of it... So I come from a town, like a very small town. All the jobs are now drying up, very similar to what kind of Salt's Neck looks like. And it reminded me a lot of home. Like, it reminded me a lot of, like, that's when you go to the neighborhood where I grew up, that's what that neighborhood looks like now, is factories are gone. Like, it's very, like, poverty stricken. Like, it's crazy, the type of emotion that, like, I was able to, like, compare it to because of that.
What was it like? What kind of emotion? What's the first emotion, I guess, that comes to mind when you think about it, when you go back to visit? It's
sad. Is
there survivor's remorse?
A little bit from time to time, like when I go home and I go to those areas where, like, I grew up, and it's like, what was special about me getting out of here? You know, like, I think about that from time to time.
I think it's very interesting you say what was special about me, because we found out something very special about Harmony Cobel, and we will get to it, of course. But, like, the general impression, I am happy that it was a short episode. Short being, relative to what they usually are. And it's because it's one of those things where that story needed to be told. And I'm not sure there was another way to do it. I was trying to go through my mind, like, okay, could they have, like, put little nuggets in there about her while doing other things? And I don't think so. I think it was just one of those things where, like, it has to be this way. Her story doesn't have a lot of action. But we need to know, like, what we found out with this whole Harmony Cobel thing, even with the factory and the, quote, child fucking labor and all of that, we needed all of that. And I don't know how you can do that without it being boring, because the other way is what, just straight exposition? And we know
they're not going to do straight
exposition.
and Severance is not a show to do straight exposition. So, yeah, no, we needed an episode like this. When I was doing my usual Reddit look through after the episode, I didn't see people talking about it at first. And that led me to believe that, like, oh, everybody hated this episode. Like, because it's like, oh, it's a filler, it doesn't do anything for the plot advancement. But what it does is it gives you those nuggets for the questions you were having in season 1. And why she pulled up to that sign earlier, like episode 2 or 3 or something, and then decided to turn back around. So it finally addresses all of those questions. So now when you go back and you experience season 1 again, you're like, oh, that's why she is so invested in Mark.
And what do you be? Like, okay, So if you watch our pod, which we hope you do, thank you so much. We actually talked about how you have a desire to see things through, right? Like, I've been in this thing from this point. We are so close to Cold Harbor, and I want to see it through. Watching that episode is like, it's so beyond that, because this is not just I am a good employee, I want to see this through. This is legit her baby. This is her brainchild. Harmony Cobel is Severance. I almost want to say, how the heck did we miss that? Like, we should have known. But they did such a good job of making her this stoic woman who was watching these people that it was easier to see her as a glorified babysitter and just a person that's just so committed to her job and so committed to Lumon and Kier and all these things that they stripped her brilliance away. Like, I never even considered that she was smart or that she was anything really, because
You weren't given the clues. You weren't given...
Right.
You weren't really given anything except for she lives next door to Mark, which is kind of creepy.
Very creepy.
Created a diversion at Devin's house, and she almost ran into Mark, and she's kind of a bitch. Like, that's all you're given.
But she's kind of a bitch all the time too. Like that's
that's just her. That's just her personality.
That's who she is. It's a part of me. Take all of me, including the bitch. And I say that mostly because even when she went to see her obvious paramour, right? Like once upon a time, they were chums. When she went to see him, she asked to meet at the factory. She was asking him for a favor. He had some stuff to get off his chest, very reasonably so, in my opinion. And she immediately turns to, okay, well, you can help me or not, but I'm not going to sit here and listen. I'm like, well, you have a lot of nerve. You come here out of nowhere. Who knows the last time they've seen each other? And then you ask for help. And then you don't like the fact that I am not happy about you asking for help. And it's fine. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people like, you're either going to help me or you're not. But the way, I don't know, it was very Harmony. I will say that.
Yeah, and she had a lot of nerve going into that diner saying the town looks old with her old ass. Like, ma'am,
you fit right in. Like, this is your home, no doubt. I'm not surprised at all that this is where you are from. You fit right in. You do. Yeah. I did notice though that it seemed the more elder people were the ones that seemed to be most affected. And I'm wondering, do you think it's because obviously they were there longer, right? They've suffered the effects longer. But do you think also it's because Harmony was plucked out? Like she left, so she wasn't there. It appears, I just want to put this out there. I kind of want to go in order. It looks to me as if she went to the factory to work. Her and what's his name? Hampton?
Yeah.
I think his name was Hampton. They worked together because when they got high, she's like, I haven't done this since I was 8 years old.
Excuse me? You just huff and eat her?
At 8. Before you start your 12-hour shift. Like there's nothing. I don't want to say Christ-like because they're not Christians, but it seems that they very much model their religion towards I guess it's more Scientology. What should we say? Yeah. Please don't come for me. I'm not talking about I promise. It's you have the right to do what you want. Look, I'm just trying to give a 1-by-1 comparison.
Because we mentioned Scientology now, the ads for this channel will be Scientology.
Please don't. But that's what I'm getting from like a real life comparison. Mm-hmm. And it's like mostly because of the whole, you have to also be a part of this community or we don't talk. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from Sissy and their mom and Harmony's mother. Did she ever say her? I don't think she ever said her name.
I don't think so.
But it appeared that she was sick and it looks like she was able to care for her in some kind of way. But they made it very clear that she's a pariah in the town. So that town don't F with Kier or Lumon or the Egans at all. Not even a little. And the cult culture is so strong in them. Like it very much gave me the ones that passed, the Nikes. They had on the Nikes and they all, oh gosh, I remember the name.
Oh, it was Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, that cult, like it's that level of like, we just believe this so deeply that we're willing to do anything because it's how it is. And not only do we believe it so much, we want you to believe it too. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, then we don't want anything to do with you.
A lot of it, I was thinking about how now they're trying to revive company towns. And this was very much, Salt's Neck was very much a company town. Lumon basically mined it for its resources, and which would be its people, to go and work at the ether factory and do all that stuff. And then it's revered as like, oh, this is where Kier got his ideas and his start. But like when you go and actually visit the town, it is a shell of nothing.
There was no town before the factory. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, what are we trying to, like, the revisionist history that the Egans and Kier and Lumon try to present is amazing. Like, I wonder how many people are in that town, because it seemed like it was like very, the ones that are left, you know,
It's
it's like the
very
leftovers
small.
almost.
Like it's all like, if I were to compare it to something back home, it would be like this city called like Chimera, where there's like one stoplight, there's maybe 200 people that live there, if that. Like, that's what that like, and it could be even less, because like it did not look like anybody was like actually living there.
They reside there. You're right. Like, there's no living. It's just
No.
like, oh, another day, I'm still here, I guess. Go get some coffee and whatever else. Because now I'm assuming the factory is shut down. It doesn't exist. There's nothing left. So what are they to do? Kind of just die off?
Yeah, because
that's so depressing.
It's very much like, you know, like when we're in Sissy's house and you see like Harmony walking around trying to find what she's looking for, and you see that focus on the Lumon plaque that has Sissy's name. And I couldn't read all of it, but like she earned some sort of award from Lumon because she was like really great at her job. And then to see the conditions that she lives in now, after being this exemplary employee from Lumon, it just shows you what Lumon is really about and what they really care about.
She's just out there alone, a pariah. There's literally nothing. She's just there with her prayers and thoughts of Lumon. And she said that Drummond came out to visit. Now, if Drummond went out there, what do you think he said? Because Harmony made it a point to ask Sissy, what did Drummond say?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, you know, come back and be forgiven. And I'm like, don't go back.
Mm-hmm.
Go back over there.
I thought it was interesting that when they were having that conversation, she's like, what have you done, little mouse? Like, there's still a sliver of semblance of like love or family there, but it's like she cares more about what she did in front of Kier and Lumon and the Egans versus, hey, how can I help you?
Let's talk about them a little bit.
Uh-huh.
We haven't explicitly said this yet, but Harmony, like we said, is Severance. From what we saw from her drawings, she came up with the procedure, the Glasgow block, the overtime contingency. She thought of it all. And seeing that makes so much more sense now with her obsession with Gemma and sending her back to the testing floor, because it's like, we have to see if what I'm doing is working. I have to see if she and Mark recognize each other. I want to see if what I have created works well. With that, I guess what I want to know is with what's her name? Helena. She's very cocky. She's very, you know, like because Harmony said it outright, you fear me. And she's like, you fear no one. And then that immediately made sense, because I'm like, no, I think they legit fear her. They do, but they need her. They need her. And if they need her, but like what can they do at this point? It seems like Harmony really does have a lot of, she holds a few cards. She might not hold them all, but she holds a few.
But
and it's not even about like the patent. It's about like the actual, are they able to do it without her? I guess is my question.
Well, and I think that's where we get into the Ragabi stuff, where it's like Ragabi, like she was so pissed when she heard that like Ragabi was like doing that procedure. And she's like, oh my God, like you're letting her do this? What?
So it's like, I have, my mom's a lawyer, right? She's, everybody knows what lawyers do, right? We also know they go to a lot of school and they know a lot of stuff. They learn a lot of procedures and torts, and I say torts because that's what I know. All these rules and everything else, right? So she asked me once, so, hey, the job you do, can you teach it to somebody else? I also have a degree that took 4 years, right? She's like, can you teach someone else? I'm like, my day-to-day stuff? Absolutely. I can show you what I do. You can be efficient in what I do every day. You would have no idea why you're doing it though, right? Or why it works, because we have procedures, right? Like, if this thing malfunctions or whatever else, these are usually the reasons why. for any of these reasons, do these things. It's a checklist. You can do it, right? You won't know why though. So if there's any kind of small tweak, or if something doesn't quite work from the checklist I gave you, you will be confused, very, very confused. And that's where Ragabi is. I think she understands the procedure. She understands how the chip works, and you can see the wavelengths in Harmony's drawings. So Ragabi has a slight understanding, but I think it was one of those things where, hey, you go through this process, we teach you this stuff, but theory and calculations and like the whole idea of it, that's why she's, quote, killing people, because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Because she only took Severance 101 and 201 and hasn't gotten to like Severance 358.
She didn't take the grad courses, right? Like, she just knows if the chip works like it's supposed to, I can do this. Like, I can keep people from dying. But I think she got a little too much dip on the chip and was like, oh, well, if I know how it works, I can reverse engineer it and figure out how to make it. And that doesn't, trust me, reverse engineering works to a point. You still need to know what you're doing. Like, you still need to know why you have to screw the top on 4 times, because the person that created knows if you do 4.5, I put that in there on purpose so I'll know, oh, this person don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And because Harmony is so brilliant, you have to be brilliant to create that. I don't know how old she was when she did it, but you have to be brilliant to create it. And if you do, that means I can't imagine her not putting something in there that requires her.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that, because we figure out that's the thing that she's going back home to look for. She can't find it. I don't want to say like the foreshadowing, but it was a nice touch of like, it was in the Egan head and she pulls out this notebook and then there's nothing in there now. Like that. Yep. Like that was really, really good. But there's a reason why she created Severance. So what is the reason? Is it because her mom was sick? She didn't want to have to deal with that pain while at work and just wanted to be like able to kind of split all that stuff? Because I know when you're dealing with something emotional, anything that's like outside of work, that's like really hard to deal with, and you still have to go back to work and do your job, you're not focusing on that. You're just there, like physically.
Your mind is here at work. I mean, your body's at work, but your mind's on the other side of town. I think everybody has been there. And like you said, she's figured out a way to split it completely. And if she's been in a factory since she was 8, I'm sure she was probably like, hey, let me figure out a way that I can get out of this, or so I won't have to get high before I go to work. You know what I mean? Like, let's do something to figure this out. Now, I guess my biggest question is, like, not only did she create it and why did she create it? Was it her idea? Right? Uh-huh. Like, yes, she was the one who implemented. She knows what to do. She put all these things in it. But was there somebody that said, hey, can you create this thing? And because she's brilliant, she was like, well, yeah, I can do it. Or like you said, did she just one day say, let me figure out a way to split myself into 2 or 8? Because again, we were under the impression it was going to be 2, but it's
you can have multiple possibilities. Looks like,
yeah.
I think I lean towards her actually inventing it. There's a lot of pain and a lot of trauma in that episode that like you see her dealing with, like not being able to say goodbye to her mom, her aunt pulling the plug on her, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot, like we see her crying in her mom's, like she hooked up that tube. First of all, I was like, where's that tube even been? Secondly, I'm like they're finally giving her a little bit of humanity by doing this.
Did you notice, like you were saying, everybody does speak in a way that is like very Shakespearean. I did notice too that her and Hampton's demeanors though were also very similar. And I'm wondering, did he go to the school too? Like, are boys allowed? Because so far we've seen that Harmony's been there and we're assuming Miss Wong. Well, he said she was in it, so her too. Yep. So do they allow boys to go through it too, or is it just girls?
Well, I mean, how does Milchett get hired? Like, he's obviously got to maybe go through that program too, I assume.
Were there, when she flipped through her, I'm assuming it was like a yearbook, was there a boy in there?
I thought I saw like there was a photo of her with a guy.
Okay, so this is a fellowship type thing. So there could be, it's possible, I guess, Hampton went to the school too? Because he, again, doesn't look as sick as everybody else, but that may just be because he's not as old as everybody else.
But also, how old are these people? Because the people in the diner looked like they were in their 80s or 90s. So then, how old are these people in their 60s?
And Sissy didn't look like them either.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's away from them, but how far away can she be? And I guess it's too, if you're in a direct proximity, I guess it's almost like asbestos. Like if you go to the factory every day and you're in it, then that's one thing. But it's not necessarily putting it out, I guess, to the town. You know, the EPA regulations, I'm sure, haven't been there. OSHA, nobody's checking in. On top of that, how old are these people and how long ago has it been? Because
the other
age, Harmony, what would you guess?
Late 50s?
Like at the least, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, she doesn't look old per se. She's just got white hair, right? So we're supposed to assume she'll. And then looking at Hampton, he didn't look that old either.
He looked roughly around my dad's age, and my dad's in his mid 60s. So they might be late 50s, early 60s.
Early 60s. Okay. So they could be. Okay. I was gonna say they could be boomers, or they could be, because they're not Gen X, right? Like, I guess they could be late. They could
be the early. Because both of my parents are late boomers, like last 3 years of what that is.
Okay, so they're probably boomers, but I'm only asking because, again, I'm trying to figure out at what point does Harmony create this? Like, at what age? She has to be brilliant, like, for real. Like,
yeah, like to even figure out, because first of all, you're splitting human consciousness. How do you even do that?
And then on top of it, like, we keep saying splitting, and it's not just that, because we were thinking, again, this is a chip, it's gonna flip this way. No, she is like almost creating rooms.
She's creating different personalities.
Right? Yeah. It's so weird because, and I think we are justified in saying that, because when Gemma goes into her places, I guess that's a question to ask. Does her any go to these different rooms, or is there a different any for each room? I guess that's the question to ask.
I think I feel like it's a different any for each room.
Okay.
Because if we remember it right, he's asking her if she remembers anything from the rooms.
Is there which any room that makes you feel better? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And it would be odd if she would remember him. Like, she would know, okay, you're in here today, but you are also the dentist. You're also the flight attendant. You're also these things. Yeah, that would be kind of odd. Unless she thinks they're playing some kind of game, but I doubt she thinks that.
There's another thing I wanted to talk about with the whole factory thing, and it relates back to the Ortmo and the story that Milchick is telling them about Dieter. And I feel like Kier was just there getting high in that factory, because it was like an ether factory, I think. And that's where all these stories and all this stuff came from, was him being around those fumes all damn day. And he's just making all this stuff up, and some of it stuck and some of it didn't. And
could you imagine that your whole idea, your whole sense of self or worth was based off somebody just being mega high? Like, you have created your personality, your life, you've curated your life to go by what this person said. And then they just wake up and be like, oh, nah, I was just high. I don't. Sorry. Like, I feel like that would be devastating, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it would. Like, maybe once you've accepted something, you just take it. Like, I think that's how we kind of cope. But I think that in particular, I would kind of be like, so they have to be at a point where they are willing to suspend disbelief, right? Because, again, Dieter died because he pleasured himself in a forest with his brother. Like, it's just weird. Like, why would you write that down?
Like, that is a story a crackhead has made up.
It's dog food. It's what he was on. That's what it was. I don't know what else to say about it other than that.
Yep.
Let's get to your girl, Devin. Now, we know, you and I know, that Cobel has gone and gotten this information and that she is truly the person behind Severance, and she may have a bone to pick with Lumon. We know this, like me and you, because we saw it. Devin does not know this. All Devin knows is this lady is a part of Lumon. The dingo stole my baby, and now I'm going to call her to tell her that my brother's reintegrating and then give my brother the phone so that he can talk to her.
She called her 3 times.
Is it because she feels... Is she still seeing her as the neighbor? Like you said, the phone still says Mrs. Selvig. Is she still seeing Mrs. Selvig?
I don't know. Like, I feel like they addressed that whole thing in the first episode of the season. Like, her name is Cobel, but she goes by Selvig, and so because they made the mashup name, the Cobelvig.
Yes,
and it's
so
like
she knows
that this woman was Mark's boss on the severed floor, and is still just like, well, I guess this is my only shot, so let me go call the cops again for the 3rd time.
Is it because Ragabi's gone? She doesn't have anybody else? I think I would have said, hey, Mark, since you're awake now, who do you trust more? Do you want me to try to get Ragabi back? Or do you want me to call Harmony Cobel? And I don't think she did that. I think she just called Cobel and was like, oh, here, Mark. Here's the phone. Do you think he's going to trust her and tell her everything? Mark?
I think so, because I still think that he's 100% trying to find answers about Gemma.
I do too. Here's the problem with it for me. Harmony Cobel, like Ragabi said, I feel, is Lumon through and through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she does understand that they are not the best people. She's seen that they will turn on her at the drop of a dime. She's seen that her contributions to them, she wasn't going to get credit for them at all. Not only did I get credit, like they fired her and was just like, oh, we don't need you anymore. Just, we got what we need out of you. You go ahead. But I still believe that if they said, okay, we were wrong, you are the mastermind, please come back, she 100% be back to Lumon, Egan, Kier.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think there's a part of her that has like turned away from them. I think she's angry with them because she wants to see Cold Harbor. I don't think she's necessarily angry with them because they're bad people.
No, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of situation. It's like the minute that she's gonna either A, get credit for the severance process, or B, get to come back and manage the severed floor and see Mark through Cold Harbor and stuff, she's gonna flip like that.
She will. I will say this again too. It just her being the person behind it makes so many things make more sense, because one of the things that have been wrecking my brain since season 1 was that she went to that man's funeral and took that chip out of his head. And I'm like, she performed brain surgery at a funeral. But now it makes sense because she knew how. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she was just some random lady that they were like, hey, go take this drill and put it in there. She knew how to get it out because she probably put it in.
Yeah.
For her going to take whatever it is, the tool she needed to get it out of his head, makes sense. It makes sense that it was her that did it. All of it makes sense now, because before it was just like, y'all want me to believe this lady just went to this man's funeral and took out a chip during, like, no, and nobody noticed, nobody paid any attention, and it's still a lot, but at least now it's like, okay, well, she knew what she was doing though. It's not like she just went in there and was like, let me wing it. She knew what to do, how to get it, exactly how, and all that good stuff. And also, why they were so adamant about her telling, like she kept saying there was no reintegration. There was no reintegration because she needed to know, and she needed to, I guess, comfort them or make them, know that no, that's not what happened. Petey died because of something else. Although she was lying because he's totally reintegrating. How would the chip? So that means something is there. There are things like Ronnie was saying before. There's stuff stored in the chip then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it works similar to like I think Ronnie was trying to describe it as like defragmenting, like when you defrag a hard drive and there's still stuff that is left there. Like I feel like that's probably the most accurate way of like thinking about the severance process for me, is that no matter what, like you're still the same person, but there are things in that personality that is going to slip through. And I think that's probably the most logical explanation that I can understand.
So when it comes down to it, it feels like to me, Helena is kind of the catalyst of this all kind of blowing up. And not her getting the procedure, like that would have been fine, whatever else. But Helena herself, because her ego is really messing up a lot. She can't stay away from Mark. And you did notice that he was like, you're the one that created this process. And she's like, no, that was my father. I'm like, well, actually. And she knew that because she knows. There's no doubt in my mind. She knows that Cobel is
of course.
Well, or maybe she doesn't, which is why she didn't know to back off. You know what I mean? If she doesn't know that Cobel is Severance, that may be why she was talking to her in that way. May not have mattered because, like I said, again, her ego is going to be her downfall. But if she had known how much Harmony knows, maybe she would have approached it a little differently.
I think she was like overextending her hand. I think with that, I think she maybe knew that she did, but didn't think that she had the proof of the severance process. So she's like, well, what are you going to do? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the question, is like, that's the big question from this episode, is like, does she, does she seek legal action?
No, right? Does she say, this is my patent? This is me? Because as brilliant as she is, if she puts that information out, there's no doubt in my mind that somebody else can be like, oh, I know exactly how to do this. Like, because she's not the only brilliant person in the world. And she needs to give it to Regina. That's what she needs to do. But if she at least tell her, hey, girl, if you're going to do this, let's at least figure out how to do it without killing somebody.
What if she makes it like open source?
That's what I'm thinking. Is that good or bad?
Because then you take down Lumon, but then you don't know.
Open up Lemon and everybody else that wants to do it, but they're going to do it ethically and with a choice and with the remix and with the subscription. And you can only do, maybe you could do a day instead of, extended amount of time. You don't have to sign any contracts, that type of thing, Lumon Plus. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just wondering what she does from here on out. We got 2 episodes left. The thing about Severance, though, they have a habit of doing something major and then going to another.
Else. Yep.
Yes. So we may not revisit this until the last episode. It's possible. The next one, I think we'll have more Mark and Devin because we have to.
Yeah,
Did we get Irvin?
Because that's the hard part, is that we got 2 episodes left, and unless you're leading us breadcrumbs for next season with some of this stuff, you gotta wrap up the Irving thing. You gotta wrap up the Mark reintegrating thing, the Gemma test floor thing. There are a few things that still have to be wrapped up. Now the Cobel thing, it's like, it's like you said, are we gonna get this Cobel thing and then we don't see it until season 3, episode 2?
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't, because Regina was missing for a long time, and then she just popped back up. I mean, she fit into the story where it put it, but like, I don't know. I think it's almost like you said, we have so many mysteries that they solve one and it's helpful. So it's not like they're just leaving us out here to dry. But then you're like, okay, but what about this one? I still know what's going on with this one. And they know they're getting another season. So I'm sure when they wrote this one, they wrote it preparing for another. You know what I mean? It's not like they were in the middle and they were like, oh, okay, we got another one. They're intentional with how they're pacing it, I hope.
I think there was a Reddit post, and after each episode that like they were updating it with like, here are the scenes that are still left from the first promotional trailer for season 2.
Crazy.
And
Crazy.
It's like Helly finding the map and going down to the testing floor. That's the main one that I remember, but there were like some other ones that were in there, like Mark kind of going back down into the Severance floor.
So that's Helly in the elevator in the intro? Because I was trying to figure out whether that was her or Gemma, or I guess it could be a mashup of both, but it looked more like Helly to me.
It looks more, I think that they did that on purpose, because there are some times where I'm like, oh, is that Gemma? But I think it's mainly Helly.
Okay. When Helly gets on that elevator, is she going to change? Because remember, okay, so Gemma was on the elevator. She came down and became Mrs. Casey. Or Miss Casey. So if Helly gets on, is she gonna go up? Oh no, no. If she's on the 7th floor, she can only go down, right? So does she become Helena when they turn? Because does it turn it off or does it turn it on? Because when she went up, she was Gemma. She went up and became Miss Casey. When she went down, she was Gemma again. So if Helly gets on that elevator and goes down,
she becomes Helena.
She becomes Helena, right? Does Helena know about the testing floor? I'm assuming she knows about it.
She's got to.
So is this just gonna not help us any if Helena goes down there? Because she
I didn't even think about that.
She knows Gemma because she said her name wrong on purpose, and so she knows she's down there. Do they run into each other? Like, that would be interesting. They talk.
I think we have to get some sort of that.
I mean, because what if she like, if that's your man, then why he over here? Type thing. Just saying, because Gemma's gonna be like, what the hell? I don't know, like, and the doctors already told her he's moved on and has a daughter. So are they just gonna go down there and screw their head some more?
I don't know, because I think we're heading towards Cold Harbor being finished and something happening to her, because just that whole conversation with the doctor, with Gemma. Okay. With that whole conversation with the doctor of like, oh, well, Mark will bear witness to what you have accomplished, or whatever the hell he said.
Yeah, you will be not reborn, but you'll be able to see the world or something like that. The world will see you. Yeah, it was very cryptic, but we'll see. Okay. So do you think with these 2 episodes, do we see Gemma again, or is that for next season? Do we see Irving? We got to see him at least once more, right?
I think so. I think we see both of them.
And what about Dylan and his wife?
That's the one where that was another scene that was in that little promo thing that I was telling you about just a minute ago. I think that's one that they might leave for next season. Because it's not as significant.
And it's fine for me. I don't feel like it needs to wrap up. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm okay with them. And they don't have to wrap up Irving either. I just want to see him again. Like, I want to know he's okay. Him. So Bert, if I don't see Irving or Bert, I want to see him again. They don't have to wrap up their story, but I want to know that, like, we recognize that they still exist. They're there. Everything's fine. Miss Wong and Harmony, do they need to see each other? Like, will Harmony recognize that this is another person from the school and almost like her replacement?
Maybe. I don't know if we get Harmony back at Lumon. I think we get Harmony back because there's a scene where like she's in front of like a fireplace or something like that in the promo stuff, and I think it's like maybe her confronting whoever at their home or something.
Okay. I think she's afraid to go back to Lumon, at least right now. Because you remember he asked, how much trouble are you in? And she's like, enough. So I think she's kind of like, I have this proof, I have these cards, but I'm also not dumb enough to go up there because they might not be so nice next time. Might take me on behind the shit.
Well, and the other thing is, like, Cobel's not severed then.
Yeah.
So when they were going to walk back into Lumon, they weren't going to reset her. They were going to kill her.
Gonna reset her, all right? She's gonna be reset, all right? I'm gonna send her on to, the world of Kier or wherever they go when they're no longer one of us. I don't know. But yeah, so to wrap it all up, solid episode. I know that it was not action-packed or whatever else, but like I said, I don't see another way they could have done it. And I'm glad that they didn't give it more filler to make it an hour. Like, just make it this short episode because we need it, and then we can move on. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and I feel like because it's on, like, an Apple TV, that they have the ability to be like, we don't need this to be an hour. Mm-hmm. This, like the, what is it, season 1, episode 7 of The Bear? It's 19 minutes. That's it. Like, that's all you need for the story. Let's leave it at that. Instead of trying to fill, like, it's not traditional TV. You don't have to do that anymore. And episodes like this are great because they do give you a lot of necessary information that help you fill in. Like, this is a show that, like, they want you to go back and, like, rewatch and, like, pick up the clues and figure out, like, oh, so that's what that means now because I saw this episode. All of that is important in episode 2, season 1.
Oh, before we go, Sissy did see it because we were like, why are you giving her this paper while she's standing in front of this fire? She asked her to not tell Drummond that she was there. She was like, I'm not going to lie. I think that's going to be a problem because we've seen Drummond go to people's houses. He might go to her house. Well, he don't know where she lives, but yeah. Is she going to stay in Mark's basement? She gonna live in Mark's basement like regardless. She might stay at Devin's house. Devin might let her come stay over there because she loves her so much for some weird reason.
Maybe she goes to that birthing place.
Oh, she could. I don't know. Anyway, these questions and more on the next episode of Severance. We will talk about these questions and more on our next recap. Same bat time and channel. I won't say time and channel because we drop them when we can. But we'll be here. Hopefully you will be too. Please let us know if you have any theories, thoughts, especially about Cobel. And now that we know that she is Cobel trademark, Severance, registered, which I don't know. Let us know what y'all think about that. Thank you for tuning in. Send Ronnie well wishes. And it's a great thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. But let us know if you have any questions that we didn't bring up. We'll try to answer them or give us some insight. We love feedback. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time.